welcome to Scrapbooking Station. It's another novelty structure. Call it a diamond top. So I'm going to take you step by step through this small guide. Got a couple more samples and leave you a diagram of a slightly larger diamond top. So I'm going to put the camera over my shoulder and we'll get started. I wanted to begin this video with that snapshot so you don't panic when I remove this piece of cardstock because the diagrams evolve somewhat. So we're going to be starting with the narrow diamond top. So it's narrower and the square on top is 2.5 inches if it was perpendicular. Of course we're going to be turning it or making it turn on its point. So to begin with this narrow card, you're going to need a 5-inch wide piece of cardstock. And the length just determines how tall your finished card will be. Now for most of the samples you saw in the title, I was working with a 9.5 inch, so 5 by 9.5 inch card. And the finished height of your card will be 2 inches shorter than whatever this length is. So I wanted to get 2 out of an A4 piece of cardstock. So this is 8.25 inches long, which means my finished card is only going to be 6.25 tall. Anyway, to begin with, the easy scores. The easy scores are going to be your center score line. So on a 5-inch width, you want to be at 2.5 inches. You want a center fold score. And then you want to do your diamond top at 2.5 inches also from the top. And when you get done, you've got something like this. And I want you to crease it really well in both directions and then also your top. So I'm going to have the lighter green on the inside of this card and the darker green on the outside. So let's talk about what's going to make it rotate 45 degrees. And that's these measurements here. So you've got 4.25 on both ends, and you've got a center point here that's 3.25 from the top. And so you can mark it here and mark both ends, and then on something soft, take a ruler and come across this way. But I think it's a little bit easier if on both sides you mark 2.25, and that's this point here, and 4.25. So 2.25, 4.25, and this way we're going to use a scoreboard. So I have my markings on both ends. So this is 2.25 from the top and 4.25, and I've got it on both sides of this. Now what I want to do, so all I've done is highlighted one of my score lines, and this way I can position one edge 2.25 and rotate around until I get the far side in the center of my score line. So I've got this centered and I've got this centered, and now when I score, I just want to take it to the center score line on my base card. So I'm going to bring it this way. So I'm going to go here, give that a good score. So I'm not going all the way to my X. And then I'm going to position this one again. I've got my 2.25 inch on the left side, going to my 4.25 on the right. And then I like to come from here because I'm not really sure where that score line is. And they're going to meet right in that center score. And that is your card structure. So, because this is going to be the inside of my card, kind of want to do one of these numbers. See how it's folding back? I'm going to turn this up. So now we got something like this. And now it's going to come together really nice. Now we want to give everything a really good crease, so let me get my bone folder. Then we'll talk about decorating. Okay, decorating and embellishing. First, you know this is your 2.5 inch square. So it's just on point, so if you have pattern paper, and I'm going to mat and layer everything, but you're just working with squares. And I just cut that using a cutting die, a square cutting die. It's part of an essential collection. So, got my top, and then the only persnickety thing, and it's easier to do this, open up your card, and so what I've done is cut this. So rather than try and measure anything, let's get the width of whatever panel this is going to be. And again, I've got a double mat and layer, so you know this is 2.5 inches wide, it's 1/2, and so I cut 1/4 inch off. So I'm at 2.25 from my panel. Now, if I had, or what I did, say this was my landscape picture. So I kind of positioned it at the bottom, and again, taking a pencil or pen, I see this score line, so I just marked off here and here. This way you don't have to measure, just cut across, and then you've got this panel. So you've got this panel, and then once you create it, I just went ahead and matted it on a little bit white, 1/8 wider. So this is 2 3/8 wide mat, and then came across another 1/8 inch off of here. So that's the outside. So you've got your square, and you've got the outside. Now on the inside, this piece is exactly the same as this piece. So I went ahead and just used this as my pattern from that point on. Of course, and if you want to decorate this side as well, and we're going to talk about that when we look at the other finished samples, that's just the flip side of this. Don't need to decorate that. That won't be seen. And whether you do the back diamond, that's totally up to you. So I've got this natural looking landscape, and I'm going to add a cartoon chicken because I think cartoon pieces against natural kind of looking backgrounds looks really cool. So let me get this decorated, and then we'll look at this sample as well as the others for this size. So I opened it up and left photos of where you cover the base card. A couple things. Of course, this area is one of those protected areas of your card. So this is actually a pretty thick foam square. And of course, I've got this diamond when it's tilted on its side, or the square when it's tilted on its side, ends up at 3.5 inches wide. And so something on the bottom can be sticking out either way, and it'll still fit into your envelope. And again, 2 inches shorter than your base card, so this is 6 1/4 by 3.5. So made an envelope for that. Of course, on the inside, I've got "You're a good egg and have a happy day." So what I used on this is a Stampin' Up! Celebration stamp set, and it's Hey Check, really cute, and this Tattered Lace backing papers. So these are all kind of landscape scenes, so something I've got in my stash. Anyway, it's clever without being complicated. So when it's decorated this way, you know, young adult or young child, or just kind of a fun little note card. So let me bring in those tall boys. So on that diagram, I showed a 9.5 inch piece of cardstock. So these are all going to be 3.5 wide by 7.5. And these are just patterned papers. They come from Paper Wishes, Serendipity. And just kind of a double sentiment. So hello, sunshine. The die cuts, or the cutting dies this time, come from Stampin' Up. So really pretty. Of course, coordinating envelope. And I've got one with a vase and flowers. So got the vase on the bottom, and then use my diamond top to die cut some flowers. And this time using kind of a satin finish cardstock from Create and Craft. And these are wildflower papers from Paper Wishes, and the cutting dies come from Tattered Lace. And then lastly, kind of another critter card. Why not a tree and tree trunk? And so I've got my Foxy Builder Punch from Stampin' Up, a wood grain specialty paper, and some die cuts from Paper Wishes to make this little note card. Okay, that's all I've got on the 2.5 inch square tilted, and now I want to look at a wider square and a wider base. So here are the numbers for a 3 inch square diamond top. And so again, we're going to tilt it, but you want to start with a 6 inch wide, however long piece of paper. Now this time we're going to chew up a little more cardstock when it gets folded. So if this is, it's 2 1/4 inches instead of 2 inches. So whatever you cut this, your finished card is going to be 2 1/4 inches shorter. So again, 6 inches wide. So my center score line is going to be at 3 inches, and the square, or the vertical score line, is going to be at 3 inches. And then the important numbers are 3 7/8 for this center point, and 5 1/8 for this end point. So if you're just doing these score lines, those are the numbers you need to remember. If you want to do the X method using a scoreboard or your paper trimmer, the other number here is 2 5/8. So you want 2 5/8 and 5 1/8 marked on both sides, and just score from your center fold. And that's going to fold up. So I only made one sample for this. You put together everything exactly the same way. So scoring and decorating, making this measurement here. Everything all same, and the way it comes together, same. So I did a Halloween card. And this is kind of fun because this is a single-sided piece of specialty cardstock from Stampin' Up. And this is nice because you've got a little more area here to put your embellishments. So I've got a dazzle inside a frame, and then of course my square, I'm using a spider web with a spider hanging down, some papers. But then on the inside, that's where my single-sided cardstock came in. And I just have this kind of free turning spider, which kind of creates a shadow when it's open. Anyway, I'm going to leave you photos of that as well, along with that diagram. And so I sure hope you give this a try. Like I said, it's kind of this novelty card. Kind of interesting. Whoever receives is going to be saying, that's clever, but not complicated. So you don't have anyone tearing apart your card to figure out how it works. Anyway, I hope you took something with you. You can use in your own card making, and thank you for watching.